Welcome, everybody, to the Journeymen Lounge podcast.
You better be praying to God because, you're 14 and losses in a row. You're going to need Jesus.
Am I wrong?
I thought you were pretty wrong, yeah.
All right, welcome, everybody, to the Journeymen Lounge podcast. This is Woj coming at you. I told you that we would be doing this at the conclusion of the fantasy year. This is the Adam episode. We definitely wanted to get Adam on at some point this year, and it's definitely not for a great reason. It's to talk about how bad his fantasy team was. But Adam, introduce yourself. I know you've been mentioned definitely sometimes on the Journeymen Lounge pod.
Yeah, what's up? So, been in the league now since the beginning as well, part of the OG crew, and I don't think I've ever been in the championship either. But this year was just a drag on the fantasy. Like, I was talking to Gabby. You guys don't know Gabby. Gabby's my wife.
Shout out, Gabby.
And like every week when someone was going down, it started getting that tone of like, oh no, not again. Like someone went down. It's just like I was throwing a pity party. I was trying to get more pity party from Gabby for more pity, and it was horrible, man.
Well, in the many years of playing fantasy football, I think you and I both have come to see fantasy football can be bad. But the reason that I kind of wanted to highlight your season is because I've never seen it kind of start off this way. Now, let me knock on wood here real quick here. But so like I've never had somebody who I draft. I've had guys who I draft get cut. Unfortunately, that was a Leonard Fournette year, the LaShawn McCoy year. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I've never had somebody though who I drafted and then like almost immediately went down, because it's happened a couple times. Mccaffrey was one, I think. Saquon had a year where he went down with the ACL. Who else? Who else had like seasons where they were pretty high up there?
I think Aaron Jones went down one year.
Aaron Jones after it. Let's see who else.
Dude, I can't even think of any receivers really off the top of my head.
I'm sure there were other, examples of it and all that shit. But, you start with your draft, okay? And I what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be putting up screenshots, basically, of kind of what we're talking about. So I'm just looking at your kind of week one, the team that you drafted. You got Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Tank Dell, Marvin Harrison, Dalton Kincaid, Rashee Rice, Dolphins, defense, Greg Zuerlein, kicker, Jaleel McLaughlin on the bench, Mooney on the bench, Jalen Polk, Tajay Spears, Brian Thomas, Cleveland Browns defense, TJ Hawkinson. Okay, and not a very specific order, but pretty much, your starters are the guys that you selected earlier on in the draft, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So as we now see it, months and months later, the 49ers let on a lot about what was the extent of Christian McCaffrey's injury, and this is the all this information comes out pretty much an hour and a half before the game starts. Christian McCaffrey is ruled out, and everybody's losing their fucking minds. I'm sure you were also in that grouping, right?
I mean, dude, but I could have been like, I don't remember anymore, but I could have, because that would have been on like the first Sunday, but I could have had like volleyball that Sunday and not really known what was going on until like I opened up the app at like noon or something. Yeah,
I mean that's definitely a well, it was, I think San Fran was maybe they were the Monday night game that week or something. Like all I know is that he was rolled out right before and people were losing their minds, right? Then you fast forward a couple more weeks, then they put him on IR. Or they might have put him on IR within like the first 2 weeks. And you go, what the fuck is happening? Because before the draft, there is no injury designation for Christian McCaffrey. At least they said, hey, he's dealing with a calf issue. And that was really like in training camp, but you write it off. You go, oh yeah, everybody's got a fucking issue. Justin Jefferson has a tight hamstring, and so he's not playing in the last game. Shit like that. And so McCaffrey, this happens, and this basically starts your descent though, because you had a rough week 1, right? So that happens. You put up 85. I don't know who you played. Did you lose that first week? I'll probably put up the standings.
So that week I was playing North Shore. I lost 85 to 137. Like that was a bloodbath regardless.
Okay.
Marvin Harrison got 0.9. And dude, that was definitely like a biased pick on my part too, because he's like his dad is like my favorite player of all time.
Oh, so we also should mention though, and we kind of blew past it though. Your affiliations. You are a Bulls fan, a Chicago fan for some sports, but you differ in football.
100%, Colts all the way.
Yeah, so he's a Colts fan, but nothing wrong with that.
It's been depressing being a Colts fan.
I think a lot of people made the connection when you said Marvin Harrison is my favorite player, but yeah, I mean, let me just tell you, there are some highlights here in terms of like who you picked, which like I'm not gonna say like is great, but a guy like Marvin Harrison, you take the chance on. If he was a like top 4 pick or something like that, like
yeah, and the stuff with that, like I mean, we've talked, during our Madden conversation too, like, Kyler Murray can maintain like a number 1 receiver. He did it with Marquise Brown. So I'm like, damn, dude, like Marvin Harrison should be able to do that, if not better somehow, because he's got like a Calvin Johnson kind of build kind of thing. So yeah, it's just I think he was like a 44% catch rate or something like that. It was so bad. He was so bad.
Well,
that was a pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I think Arizona ended up being a worse team, and that definitely hurt his stock. I mean, there were a couple real puzzlers out there. I remember for one week or whatever, it's like Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't even on the field right now, and they're like down 10 or something like that. I don't know if he was dealing with like an injury. He had I think he missed a couple games. I know he had a concussion one game. But yeah, overall, I still think you take that shot on rookies, and if they don't pan out, they don't pan out. At least Marvin Harrison kind of put up some points throughout the season. I know he didn't obviously put up as much as he probably should have. Technical difficulties. God damn it. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Good. Glad we still have the phone fucking technology here dealing with that. All right. But yeah, moving on off from Marvin Harrison Jr., I just wanted to mention though, there's like again that can't really be looked at as like a bad draft pick. It's just simply the guy doesn't pan out as a rookie. I'm sure like most rookies are gonna have a great second year.
Yeah, he'll probably be fine next year. I'm definitely probably not going to take him next year because I feel betrayed, especially when my name was Marvin Gardens.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta see where he falls next year to really make that judgment call just yet. Because if he falls to you in like the 4th round, 5th round, or something like that, you might, you might have to switch that up. I mean, some of these other picks you went Tank Dell, Joe Mixon, Lamar Jackson. Let's just give you a plot on that. Lamar fucking torched the entire league this year. He scores so many points. Joe Mixon, Tank Dell went down pretty much immediately 2 weeks in or something like that. Went to the IR.
4 or something like that, though. I didn't hang out to him very long because he did pretty good last year, and I kind of liked Tank Dell. CJ Stroud was coming out really hot, and then
CJ Stroud cooled off a lot this year for sure.
Yeah, he did.
Which hurts him, and then unfortunately it hurts Mixon. I mean, Mixon had some great games early, but they were really few and far between. Like
Mixon,
yeah, go ahead.
I was looking. Well, so he also got fucking hurt in week 3. Okay. So
as you can see, folks, the injuries are starting to pile up already.
So week 1, McCaffrey's out from just baloney, and it's ridiculous. We went on that cool. So fine. Week 2 comes. That's when Joe Mixon gets hurt in Chicago.
Okay.
So now I'm both my running backs, and I'm starting in week 2. I have Justice Hill and Joe Mixon. Mixon gets hurt. Week 3, I've got Cam Akers and Dante Foreman.
Ooh.
Week 4, Makers and Bucky Irving, but then Bucky Irving started doing really well, and he became like a cornerstone in my team eventually, which was pretty nice.
Bucky Irving had a great year, rookie year.
Then week 3, or sorry, week 4, Rasheed Rice went down, and he was like wide receiver like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Just, and I was so hyped on that. I was so jacked, and I'm swearing out every single week, dude.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at the team that you drafted here. You have 5 people that landed on IR. That's a lot. Definitely a lot of people there. Granted, as you said, you dropped some of these guys kind of as you went along here. But that was just the common theme, and that's where as I was telling you kind of before the podcast, that like there were some weeks we were playing Madden as we normally do, and I couldn't even I was like hesitant to bring up fantasy football just because I was like, oh, dude, I know that like Rasheed Rice went down from friendly fire, no less, and I was like, he's gonna be pissed.
Why would you do that? What QB just dives into the middle of the play like head first? Had a bunch of knees and ankles and shit with like people who were 250 pounds.
Jay Cutler would.
Well, Jay Cutler's an idiot too.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But yeah, as a terrible decision by Patrick Mahomes, takes out his own number 1 wide receiver there. So first 2 weeks, man, you're kind of off to a little bit of a rough start. The McCaffrey blow is big, and then you lose 2 in a row. Probably not great, but then you get 2 wins in a row, right? You go through Bronson's team was terrible this year, admittedly, and Jeremy. So you beat the 2 lowest guys in the league. Good job.
Thank you.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, pretty much Lamar. I mean, you played Donta Foreman, as you said, in week 2. He got 0.5. So helps to play teams that aren't that good, and Jeremy did eventually win the Sacco. So, those are the wins that you would kind of expect to get. And then, you had a good run in week 5, 115 to 124 against Surge, but unfortunately, Surge made it to the championship at least. Behind Joe Burrow. I mean, Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow were dueling it out. That was a dope game to watch, actually. Jamar Chase, and the Joe Burrow connection pretty much got you that by that extra points. So it's a tough win, but like you're at least your teams are putting together points. I mean, you got
I had third highest 4 in the league.
Yeah, so I mean, despite your unfortunate injuries, you're putting up points here. So you lost to the eventual champion Vince by 37, and I mean that's just that week he played. Justin Fields got 23. J.K. Dobbins had a good week.
I forgot about this week. Oh man,
George Kittle.
Marvin Harrison got a fucking goose egg.
Yeah,
he got 0 points.
Those are rough to win.
Game, I think, or something.
Darnell Mooney says like he got questionable Darnell Mooney right here, but I don't know when that actually happened in the league. And also, I mean, I think that week Lamar Jackson didn't do too. I mean, he still passed for 323, but just not a whole lot of points, only 18.92. So that one was like the eventual champion. You basically played the championship game back to back, 2 more losses. Then you go to the matchup with me, which I know we. Oh, I'm sorry. You won the first matchup, right? I think I won the second one. Yeah, I won the second one. Sorry, you won the first matchup against us. You and I head to head. Lamar Jackson, Joe Mixon did their things. Coming through. So right now at that stage, you're 1, 2, 3, 4. You're 3 and 4, and I'm pretty sure you're like middle of the pack, right?
Yeah, because we were like, I think there were like 8 teams that were 3 and 4, and right in between like these 2 weeks, week 6 and 7, I had Devin Singletary on my bench, which I picked up from the waiver wire, which John dropped.
Okay.
A lot of like maybe the week before, and he had Jameson Williams, who I wanted because he was kind of on like a bit of a hot streak.
Right.
Because I was trying to fill this wide receiver void still. It was just kind of like rotating a bunch of different guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so John and I always try to make a trade every year, whether it works out or not. But we try to. It's just kind of fun. It's kind of a tradition, more or less. Now I would say it's pretty good. So we're talking. I'm like, hey man, like, who do you want for Williams? You want a running back? I'm like, all right, I got Singletary, but like, you dropped him and I picked him up, so I'm just kind of trading the dude you dropped for your guy, like. He's like, yeah, man, that's cool. I'm like, okay, like that's dope.
I mean, I think you'll find that John is very nonchalant, probably
Nah,
especially when I think, John, and I've said this on the podcast before, is like John puts together a good team. Whether it's like a shitty looking team, like John is usually hovering around the playoffs each year. So my hat's off to John. But I think exactly as you explained, right, that had to do a little bit with just like we do a trade every year. So this year we're just going to do a throwaway trade or whatever, just for the heck of it.
I think like when he won the league, was it like 2 or 3 years ago? I made
Yeah.
a trade that year, and it helped. I forget who it was. He might know. He might remember,
Hmm.
but it helped him out a lot.
I mean, yeah, that definitely happens every year, though. I mean, trades are necessary, and especially in your position. I mean, I'm kind of shocked that you weren't trying, like, making more and more trades each week as soon as you kind of see the McCaffrey going down, more information coming out about him. Hey, he's going to be out on the IR. Nico Collins, like I said, I think went down week 3 or something like that. So, like, you didn't make this trade, and Jamison Williams ended up being a good talent later on. You do just kind of see like a team who's doing well at the top of the table isn't like more, at least in my experience, isn't more susceptible to trade their pieces because they're just like, hey, my team is cruising along. Maybe
I mean,
some depth.
Jackson, the trading. I really thought I was going to get some hits. Like no one wanted Lamar Jackson. Like that's how desperate I was. Like, I'll trade away
Yeah.
#1 scoring dude in the league.
I mean,
So,
I'm sure if you ask those people now and you go, hey, would you have traded Lamar Jackson from Adam in week 2? He would have been like, yeah, no doubt, no question. Give me Lamar Jackson. So we get to the first matchup of ours. You won that one, okay, and then you play Joe. You win 2 in a row. Then I mean, dude, this is crazy. 2 losses, 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 wins.
it was, dude. It
It's a roller coaster of emotion.
was, and it was like, and can you imagine Gabby like every Sunday? I'm like, yo, Gabby, I'm coming back. It's happening. This is the fucking week. And then like someone goes down or someone gets hurt or I get smashed by like 40 points the next week or lose 2 more games in a row. Oh, dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say it definitely for you was a roller coaster of emotion.
And then the way I
yeah,
my
go ahead.
2 wins in a row is week 11 against Ryan.
Well, so you beat. I'm sorry, you lost. So you won against Joe. You lost against Blake. Team really just didn't do anything. I don't know if there were more significant injuries there.
No.
I don't know. That might have been the game that Marvin hit. No, not that one. The Chicago game I was actually at. It was dog shit. Okay, so we get to week 10. You excuse me, and then you stomp John 120-78.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Let's see. John played Tua. Yikes.
Oh, also he's back at this point, but he's like not really doing McCaffrey things.
McCaffrey returns. I mean, 13.7 isn't great. You would kind of think that he was just going to kind of get some steam kind of building, and then yeah, go ahead.
Week 10 was just his first week back, so I thought like 13.7 on your first week back was pretty good, but like
right, but your
averages were trash.
I mean, I'm just saying you're eventually expecting him to return more to form, probably after 3-4 weeks. But you're like, hey, good sign, McCaffrey's back. And then what happens 2 weeks later? He goes, or maybe 3 weeks. I don't remember. Whenever he played the Bears, I think
4 weeks.
Okay, so whenever I think he played the Bears, he went out in that game, and then they basically put him back on IR, or just said he's pretty much out for the rest of the season. So you got 4 games of McCaffrey, 5 games, and they were all dog shit, respectfully. So. Yeah. That basically not having a #1 draft pick, a #1 overall, is really, I mean, this is where you would be, honestly, you probably just having just like, let's just insert numbers, not a name. If you give 15 points more each week, just like a general from a #1 overall, I mean, you're probably looking at a 12-win, 11-win campaign.
Yeah,
I
I don't think
think with Lamar, how Lamar did, and then pair that with a, number one overall 15 points at least. Yeah, I mean that's really the coulda, woulda, shoulda right there. So let's just kind of wrap the scheduling kind of up before I have a couple more questions here. You lost then to Kyle in a dude, this one hurts, man. And I'm sorry to bring up your pain, but it is entertainment for the podcast right now. You lost 116.74 to 116.48. You lost by 0.26 tenths or 2.26 hundredth. I know that this one was there was something that was going on where somebody was still playing. I wish I could remember. Maybe like a Darnell Mooney, and you were like, Darnell Mooney needs, I don't know, like another 2 yards at the time and doesn't get shit. It was, again, whatever that Monday night game, and you were just like, okay, I just need a little bit more while these guys are going, and just
looking at it, but I don't remember though. But that was also, I think, when I first started Johnny Smith, which I was like, holy shit!
Johnny Smith was crazy this year.
Through here and like give me a shot,
Right?
Because Dalton kind of a miss too, which I thought he was gonna do be like possession kind of tight end.
I'm pretty sure he got injured again at some point, and then
no, dude, he did, but in the beginning. He was like 4 or 5 targets a game. It really sucked.
No, I know that he started off as like the number one tight end target in Buffalo, but then again something happened. Maybe he went down for a second, couple games or whatever. But Dawson Knox really like just took over. Like, excuse me, every major catch by tight end was pretty much Dawson Knox from that point on. So again, you lost to Vince again, 109, 120. Just, your team just not. I mean, Jonnu Smith, 19.2 points, great, but other guys just not showing up. Christian McCaffrey, that was a game that he had 3 points or something like that. Then we come to the game against me, where my team decided to not put up any points.
And all of the points.
Right. I lost 150 to 100, and I think I might have said before that I won 150 to 100. No, I got stomped by 50 points, and your guys just wanted to have a day. Bucky Irving, Jonnu Smith again, Denver D. Your kicker had 15. Brian Thomas, 16.7.
Like, at this point in the schedule, the way my team was shaping up, because I got JSN off the waiver wire.
That's nice.
I'm like, I can actually make a run here because I knew I got a bye week kind of thing as well. But once I have Joe Mixon and Bucky Irving, and then Brian Thomas and JSN and Johnny Smith and Lamar Jackson, I'm like, damn, dude.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't get eliminated from playoffs until week 14, right?
I was in it all the way up to the last one.
All the way up to the last one. So, you win against me, and again, still another it's a roller coaster. Win, loss, win, loss, loss, win, loss. Didn't really ever have like a streak of more than 2 games. And then you come to the final week against Joe, and basically, as if I remember correctly, it was probably a situation of you need to win, probably win by a decent amount, and then other people probably need to lose, like, because you guys were all stacked in that, like, 5 to 10 people, 5 to 10 rankings were all kind of stuck together.
I needed someone else to lose. I think I needed like Sergio to lose, maybe.
Okay.
And you iterated again.
Yeah, Joe, you lost by 28 to Joe. And at this point, I mean, again, you don't even have, McCaffrey. Your guys are putting up a good fight, but the one thing that also I think hurt you was the week 14. I don't think what's his dick played Baltimore, because I see you putting Geno Smith in
Oh yeah,
So Lamar Jackson was on bye. So yeah, on top of that, in the most important week, fucking, you guys not even able to fucking play. It's a rough go. So again, you get to the the point where you're like, fuck, I didn't make the playoffs. I give you again a fucking tip of the hat if I was wearing one right now, but just because, I mean, again, your team, despite being fucking marred by injuries, like, still ended up doing pretty decently. But again, just a roller coaster of a fucking season.
It was a shit ass roller coaster.
Yeah, because again, it ends up in the dumpster. If it ended up at the top of the mountain, then you're all.
I mean, I was questioning my fantasy futures for the first 6 weeks of the season.
That's
I don't know about here. I don't know. This is like too much. It's like too much stress.
Well, I will say when fantasy is going good, there's nothing like it. I mean, I had a couple times this year where I won in all 4 leagues, and I was like, this is fucking great. What a fucking day. And then the other times where you lose in all 4 leagues, I'm kind of like, there's a fucking rain cloud over me and only me. But let me just ask you here, if you could pinpoint what was a player or what was a unexpected high? Like, I don't know if it was beating somebody where you're like, oh, fuck you, finally got you or something like that, or just a player that you picked up or drafted that you're like, this guy turned into one of the best guys for me.
Definitely Brian Thomas Jr. I think I drafted him like my 8th pick or something like that.
And he's a rookie too, right?
Yeah, he ended up wide receiver 4.
So that's a rookie on Jacksonville.
Unbelievable. After their bye week I just saw this when I was kind of preparing for a little bit. But from 1 to 11, he never had a double-digit targets. Week 12 comes, it's the bye week, and then he had double-digit targets every single week after that.
Okay. That's a nice little, nugget of positivity. I think this is the nice thing is that when you draft a rookie wide receiver, I think you can always see kind of the potential because you're watching him closely. You're seeing every week how many targets did he get, how many routes, yards run is he, running and shit like that. You see the more specific stats there. So I wonder if you next year. Obviously, again, has to fall to you in some certain capacity, but I wouldn't be surprised if you selected Brian Thomas or Marvin Harrison Jr. At any point next year. Or you try and make a trade for them because, again, you can see kind of what their potential is.
Go ahead. Thomas a lot better with Mac Jones than Trevor Lawrence.
Well, Trevor Lawrence is a very interesting kind of guy right now because they did pay him money. And I just don't see how it's kind of a similar situation to me. Even though Trevor Lawrence I think is overall better, I think it's very similar to Daniel Jones' situation in the New York, where he just wasn't meshing. Oh, Andy Dalton, okay. But it's just he just wasn't meshing. You pay him a lot of money already, and now you're kind of at the point where you go, what do we do here? I mean, do you cut him and take a bath, which a lot of teams are electing to do? Like Denver did with Russell Wilson, just get the fuck out of here. We're gonna take $200 million in salary cap hit or whatever. I don't know. Trevor Lawrence is an intriguing guy to me. I don't know if he's just not in the right situation and they're calling the wrong plays for him. I don't know if the offensive line is just shitty in Jacksonville. I assume that it is, but I don't know if you have any insight on Jacksonville. I know they're an AFC South division rival.
On anything, because I can never watch football. So my insight
fair point
is not close.
Oh, good, man. So, in terms of the episode here, like I said, I am going to put in some graphics here of basically the ESPN app, which actually, as I have you here, what do you think of the ESPN app? Be honest. As a fantasy app.
I wish it was more conducive to talking smack somehow.
Okay,
I think it's fine. I like how it runs during the season and stuff like that. I think it's pretty smooth, but I don't think there's I don't know if there's a way to like make it more like that, but
So, what I think you're referring to is that there's no group chat, at least that is used, right? Like there is a Three Penis Wine chat, and I technically can go in there and say, I'm gonna kill all you by 100 this year. I am the greatest. Like I could say that in the chat, but I think it's also about the call and response. I just don't think that there's a whole lot of people that do use the chat for that function. I know, just in general, we have a lot of people who do have kids, and I know Jeremy sometimes is like, yeah, I check, check my lineup at 11:55 sometimes and just hit send, and then I'm off to the next thing or whatever, which is fine. I think though that there is definitely with the ESPN app, I do really like the function of how they show all of the summaries of games, or like the action as it's happening, where you can pick and choose. Okay, what's this? The stats. It is very easy in that aspect, but I do use Sleeper, if you've ever heard of that.
yeah.
On as another fantasy app. I'm kicking it around. As a commissioner of the league, there's a couple items to definitely throw out to a vote. I mean, that's one thing you would have heard on the one of the previous episodes is that I did have a little bit of complaints out there that I was receiving of people saying, oh well, I didn't love this rule or whatever. And it's like, there is a process for this, right? Like you bring it up at the beginning of the year when I say, hey, is there anything that anybody wants to change, and then we vote on it. It's a pretty standard practice. So I do just find that a little bit annoying when somebody's saying, oh, that we should do this for the league, and in reality it's like, we can do that, we just need enough people to vote on it. Because like, why would you just enact rules and policy and stuff like that without getting feedback from people? Like that would make no sense. People would be pissed all the time if I just was like, hey, this year we're gonna make quarterback runs of 10 yards 250 points. Everybody would be like, what the fuck are we talking about here, man?
Dude, I hate overinflated points in leagues. I was not a fan of our point raise this year with the defense either. That made no sense to me at all.
Yeah, I mean,
to just raise the defense 2 points is just now. It's just arbitrary. Like everyone's getting a 2-point raise. Like,
well, everybody's getting more points, but I think defenses overall, there were a lot of 20-plus point defensive performances this year. There are also a lot of negative defensive performances this year. I think really what it is, in the League of Assholes, the league that I'm in with Schroeder brothers and some other guys, they're kind of group of friends. With that league, they already I love we do a live draft. Everybody's just like fucking talking shit, eating food, having a good time. And then we get to the draft and it's like business. It's like fucking we're on here. But what we already decided for the next draft is that we're implementing a 1.5%, 1.5 per catch PPR for tight ends, because the tight end position has unfortunately gone down. It's what you're saying in terms of the people who are after points. That's really like started by the guys who are like, oh, I want to increase the defense. I want to get rid of kickers and add a flex player. So it's these guys kind of proposing those rules and stuff like that. But overall, I think it's the it's fine with me as long as everybody's is cool with it. If everybody's cool with it, I'll play, and we'll see how it shakes out. You got to change your strategy a little bit, but overall, it's I love fantasy. I don't know, man. I lost in all 4 leagues in crazy fashion, and I'm like, I can't wait to do it again. So, I mean, anything else left to discuss? We got a couple more minutes if we want. I mean, we went over your season. I don't want to rehash it ever again for you, because it's pretty brutal to just keep going back to the well. Just saying, yeah, Adam, you had a shitty season. You're like, I know.
It's a pretty empty well.
But yeah, I mean, we'll end it here. This is a good time. This is going to be called Adam's Song, as a reference to Brian's song. And
awesome. Dude, that's my brother.
There you go. But yeah, this should come out. Honestly, within the next couple days here. I appreciate you making time to jump on. This is the first of many. Now that I
Yeah.
figured out how to do this fucking Bluetooth shit,
Got
we'll definitely get you back on, dude.
dope.
All right, man. Well, for the Journeyman Lounge podcast, I was Woj. That was Adam, and we will talk to y'all later.
Peace.